What is up, everyone? It's Monday again, so we have another Monday metagame update. But the new set is coming out in just a couple days, so we're going to talk about it, talk about some deck lists people have been posting, see what might be good for that. So, yeah, let's get into it. Alrighty, so the streamer event happened just a few days ago, and then the new release of the new cards is in a couple days from now on the 14th. So I want to talk about some of my takeaways from the streamer event, and then also look at some deck lists that other people have made, and discuss maybe some of the deck lists that I got to try out, which ones were working well for me, that sort of stuff. So yeah, let's talk about it. So starting off, here's kind of my quick recap of the streamer event. I played against a huge variety of decks. A lot of them did not work out that well for the people who were playing them. But the ones that I felt were very good were the dinosaur decks. Pretty much a lot of different varieties of the dinosaur decks felt very powerful, whether it was just a straight up dinosaur Gruul aggro, or it was like a fight rigging deck that uses the new pugnacious dinosaur card. This one, Hammer Skull, to quickly get your fight rigging trigger. Both of those seem pretty strong. There was also a few ramp decks with Atraxa using the Hulking Raptor. It felt okay. I don't really think that deck needs this card in it. Obviously, this card is fine in that deck, but overall, that didn't felt that impressive to me. So I think mostly the Gruul dinos and the fight rigging dinos were the two that felt really strong. And then other decks that felt good, Pirates. Honestly, I hadn't even really considered pirates to be a thing before the streamer event. I saw a few pirates there. They looked pretty good, but I said, there's not enough support for pirates. How could you possibly make it work? Well, I guess what I didn't factor in was all the ships that are in the vehicles, which are in the new set. So it really kind of helps. And there were a couple red pirates that also were very, very strong, which made it work. So I think it has a good shot to be tier one, to be honest. Like, it could be a really aggressive, mostly red pirates deck with a little splash of blue, that abuses like treasure ramping and also sacking the treasures to do things. So yeah, it felt very good. Breaches is an excellent pirate, giving you treasure and drawing you cards, basically. The galleon was quite good. It destroys something and gives you treasures, and is a easy to crew 5/5. And then Captain Storm, also very, very powerful if it sticks around. And of course, you have the right deck to build around it. But it just says whenever an artifact enters the battlefield, it doesn't have to be a treasure. It doesn't only trigger once per turn. So if you're making map tokens, treasure tokens, you're putting down vehicles, which are artifacts, etc., all of those trigger this card and make your pirates bigger. And a lot of your pirates have flying, so you're making your flying creatures really big, and just leads to a really snowbally game. So yeah, pirates felt really good. This card also quite good. This little monkey, or it's not a monkey, it's a goblin pirate. It looks like a monkey, but yeah, this one is very good. It's like the, what is it, Viashino Pyromancer? No, that's not right, but it's a little hasty one drop that's basically swings in for 2 damage most of the time. So quite good. So yeah, both of those feel really good and probably tier 1 or close to tier 1. I don't think, you're going to get away from the ramp decks being very good like they are right now. Of course, still have probably mono white humans or soldiers as other aggressive decks that are still very good. Not really anybody was playing those in the early access from what I could tell. And then I still think you're going to have black Shieldred based decks that will do pretty well also. So there isn't really any good hate cards for Shieldred in this set from what I could tell. There is some decent graveyard hate in the set. So maybe Underdog is going to not be quite as good as it was. Or maybe reanimation decks, which weren't really tier 1, but maybe they're not going to be as good either. So I think it's probably going to be like Esper mid-range, Atraxa, ramp decks, the aggressive mono white humans and Azorius. And then you're probably going to have dinosaurs and pirates, and maybe mono red as well. So, um, I don't think it's going to change a whole lot, but I do think there's going to be a couple decks that come out of this set which are going to be viable. And then this card here was quite powerful, but most of the decks that I played against were not good. They would lose most of the time to my decks. But this card itself is very strong, especially when it's flipped. It's really, really hard to deal with. So I don't think the shell for this is quite there. I saw some people play this in just kind of the mono white, what is it called? Mid-range kind of deck with like the Wandering Emperor, Wedding Announcement, that kind of stuff. That felt pretty good from what I saw, but they also have less artifacts. That makes it a little bit worse. But of note, Sunfall, makes an artifact, so that kind of works with this. So maybe you want to have this plus Sunfall plus other of the like mono white control decks to make this thing work. I don't know. This card's strong. Somebody's got to find a build of the deck that works for this. And then besides that, we got a few pretty decent cards. I think this Black Sweeper is quite good. And, blue black kind of has this synergy where a lot of times they draw a discard or they self-mill to do some trigger for some effect. So I could see this going in some sort of blue black control deck and it being, good. Maybe not tier 1, probably not tier 1, but probably good enough to get you to mythic and, be about tier 1.5 or tier 2. But yeah, that card felt really good. It's basically languish. Like most of the time you can get -X to be 4 by turn 4. And then this card actually surprised me a lot. I'll have to see how well it does against like a humans deck, but every time I played this, I got to bounce it back to my hand and play it again, bounce it and play it again. And typically I would get to cast this at least 3 times in a game. And sometimes I even had 2 of these going. So I would just make a huge board of these skeletons with haste. It's pretty hard for the opponent to deal with, especially if you're going first. I mean, they just get swarmed by all these black hasty skeletons that have this anthem effect, basically. So quite good. And I think there's some other skeleton synergy cards in the format, so it's possible that you could just make a pure skeleton deck with this being like the main lord effect of that deck. Yeah, this card was good. What else? Other really notable cards. I mean, there's some pretty interesting descent stuff with this guy. The Myco Tyrant gets very big very fast. This one is a pretty decent early game creature that grows and removes something. And this one is kind of like a creature that the opponent doesn't really want to block, so you can kind of swing it a few times, and then to mid to late game you start doing the descend and pinging the opponent for 3 to the face. So yeah, that felt pretty good as well. I think maybe the only other thing to talk about is like this subterranean schooner is just a good vehicle. It's a 3/4 crew 1. It explores. I played it mostly in Merfolk, but you could probably play it in other things like pirates or maybe mono blue, or I don't know if there's some other is it deck, probably that. But just the fact that your 1-drop, which is like a 2/1 or something like that, kind of weak. Maybe a 1/1 with flying. You can basically make it get bigger and bigger because every time you crew this and attack, then that creature explores and gets a counter or helps you draw land. So it's win-win either way. And this card is quite good on stats. So yeah, that one is a strong card. It can definitely go in a lot of homes. This card is probably also like an insane card that can go in a bunch of sack decks, even Oni Cult Anvil, things like that, because you basically just get a free card every turn off of this, and then the flip side of it is also really insane because it lets you cast creatures from your graveyard, like 1 creature each turn. So for 4 mana, you basically get unlimited draw from your graveyard. So both sides of these really, really great. I think that card is busted, and I didn't see a lot of hype around this, but I think this is in the future. You can hold me to this. I think this card is going to be broken somewhere, somehow, maybe even in older formats. This card is broken, so just wait for that. Other than that, this card was strong, but I don't think Merfolk's was that good, so I don't know if this will have a home. Maybe if mono green Stompy is a thing, this could fit there, but I'm not sure. And this is just a good removal spell. Most of the time you don't get that second effect, but destroy creature planeswalker for 2 mana, pretty good. So yeah, that's my take on the streamer event. I had so many decks, so you're gonna see them on my channel, but Rakdos Descend, Sultai Descend. Sultai Descend is kind of like self-mill. And then what else did we have? We had pirates, we had artifacts, we had dinosaurs, etc. So yeah, a lot of different decks, but I told you kind of what I thought about from my experience. So let's look at what some other people had. So Brewlab here tried out some giant artifacts deck using the spring-loaded trap to have it be a removal. You also have Glass Casket from the last set. Disruption Protocol was a card that people were really hyped on, but then kind of fizzled out. And also Urza and the Mightstone Weakstone as well. So looks like now we have a couple things like Thousand Moon Smithy and Urza's Command, which can benefit from all these artifacts on the battlefield and stall the game out and help us get to the end game there with the portal to Phyrexia. There is he's running it as well. The Unstable Glyph Bridge is an artifact sweeper card that turns into a creature late game. So that also felt quite good to me in the artifacts deck, but I think I went too hard on like the cheap artifacts and my version didn't work out super great. But yeah, this looks kind of cool. I love Urza Planeswalker, to be honest, after the meld, so I may try something like this out and see how it does. Looks a little bit slow to me, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe it works. All right. This other person, Will Urker, made a Zurgo and Ojutai deck. Using also Treasure Map, Get Lost, the new removal card, and the Bone Horde Dinosaur, Dragon Dinosaur. And then Cavern of Souls for the uncounterability. I guess that works pretty well with the Ojutai. So the deck looks alright to me. I'm a little bit skeptical about this one. I think we've kind of gotten past the stage where this could be good enough. Just having a 4/4 flyer that swings in. And Get Lost itself to me wasn't that great in my experience, so I'm not sure. But we'll have to see. Hey, next up we got Robert Taylor here with the white and red Convoke deck. So the Thousand Moon Smithy says that you can flip it if you have 5 untapped artifacts or creatures you control that you tap. So this one is meant to just kind of go wide as quickly as possible, and then on turn 4, you play the Smithy, turn 5 you flip it. We also have Knight Errant of Eos. There's also a Convoke creature that draws you cards. So looks like there's some artifact synergy in here as well, because the tokens that the Smithy generates cares about artifacts. So you have to have kind of a balance between going wide with tokens and having artifacts. Seems a little stretching it to me. I'm not sure, but it may be that he had some success with this. I'm not sure. I guess he says that, it went pretty good. So yeah, I guess it worked out okay. Maybe there's another shell that wants something similar. Maybe you could go mostly just mono white with artifacts as well. But I guess, yeah, I don't know. There's probably some way to make this work, because it does work with creatures and doesn't just have to be artifacts. So go white shell that has artifacts in it could potentially work as well. So, all right, there you go. Another brew that we got from MTG Joe. This is abusing the Ancient One of Nixless combo. This was kind of, people kind of picked up on this pretty quick that this was a thing. But it looks like MTG Joe kind of took a similar thing to what I did with also have the Thrill Seeker in the deck. So Ancient one, Obnixilis or Thrill Seeker, dealing a bunch of damage to the opponent, drawing cards if you need to, and you get to abuse things like Molten Collapse and Shieldred and Invasion of Amonkhet, stuff like that. So yeah, I guess if you have Obnixilis and Shieldred, it's pretty good, right? You get to draw the 7 cards, lose 7 life, but then you gain 14. So that seems pretty good. So yeah, this version looks pretty good. Maybe this is better than I mean, it's probably better than the one I played, to be honest. I like the approach here. It seems pretty nice. And there's a few one-ofs that look pretty good, like Inti and Brass Tunnel Grinder. So yeah, I approve. Looks cool. Another one we got here is the dinosaur deck. So this is, I think this is pretty standard, the pretty standard version of the dinosaur deck. You got the ramp ones, you got the nice 2-drops that are in the dinosaur deck. And then of course you got the really scary 3, 4, and 5 drops. And then we have the one of the creatures which you discard, it does 3 damage to the opponent's creature. So that is pretty good as well. So yeah, dinosaur deck, as I mentioned, seems very strong. This is pretty much the standard, I would say, very standard build of the deck. Give it a shot. I think this one's good. And then finally, this is kind of a crazy deck. I don't know how good this is, but Okiba, you know, the Greasefang Okiba boss was pretty insane for a while, and especially in older formats. I'm pretty sick of Greasefang, so I'm not a fan of this. However, I do have to admit that you know, it's still in the standard, so technically you could play it with Belligerent and Magnetic Galleon and get some pretty good effects off that. So if you want to try playing this Grixis mill with you know, Greasefang to get your ships back, then you more than welcome, but I definitely won't be playing this deck. So that's about it for what's going on with the new set. It's coming out in just a little bit over a day now. And yeah, there's a lot of different brews. People are trying out a lot of good stuff. But I have a feeling the main things that are going to work are dinos, maybe pirates, and some version of Descent. But we'll see. Let's find out in just a day or so. But there you have it. Hope you go out there, have some fun, your last day on the ladder before the new set, and until next time, see ya.